be doing lesson 15-7, where we have already divided some shapes, and we're going to be talking about how to take those equal parts that we've divided and to give them out to people into equal shares. So we have a pizza here, and this pizza has already been cut into 16 pieces using the rows and the columns. But this pizza isn't for 16 people, it's going to be for 4 people. So they want to ask different ways that we can make 4 equal shares. So I want you to pause this and see if you can come up with one way to divide this pizza into equal pieces for 4 people. Okay, now that you have divided your pizza, let's look at some different ways you can do this, because there are lots of different ways. So you could have gone straight up and down and straight sideways. In order to have equal shares, we can see each person has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of pizza. And if each person has the same amount, then you have divided your pizza into equal shares. So let's look at some other ways we could do that. This is another grid of 16 squares. And I can do the up and down line, but then I can keep going into strips. So each person, again, would have 4 equal shares. And really, once I get one way to do this, if I know that there are 4, then every time I divide it, I just want to make sure that there are 4 equal shares. And of course, with this way, we can divide it this way, or we can divide it sideways too. I have seen friends that have taken theirs and they really didn't like the idea of square pizza so much, so they went ahead and divided their squares into triangles instead. This works, but it makes it a lot harder to count and see that you have equal shares. So what we want to try to do is make sure that we are having 4 pieces in each square. So you can also be a little bit more creative. As long as I have 1, 2, 3, 4, let me divide this. Then I could divide the pizza this way. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as long as each person, it's for 4 different people, so I've got it into 4 different sections, and as long as each person has the same amount of squares, then we can divide it in lots of different ways. So on the next page, you are going to be looking at some shapes, and up here it kind of describes how you can divide things into equal shares. And it also gives you some ideas. Actually, all of these ways are different ways to divide this shape into equal shares. So the first question when you're doing this is, how many equal shares do I need? And then once you come up with one way, so this says draw lines to show 2 equal shares. Well, easily I can draw a line down the middle going this way, and there are 1, 2, 3 in each. So I want to see if I can make another way to have 3 squares. 1, 2, oh, I don't want to cut that off, because that would just be 2 shares. 1, 2, 3, oh, there we go. So as long as I have 3 in each side, I am good. How many squares are in each equal share of the triangles? There's 3 in each. And now you are going to use some terms that you had yesterday, or actually for the last lesson that we did. So it says describe the equal shares of the whole. Because we split them into 2 equal shares, those are the words that we're using. So each share is a half of the whole, because I divided it into 2 equal parts. And each whole is 2 halves. I have to have both parts together in order to make the whole rectangle. So as you are dividing, see if you can find an easy way to divide. And then once you have your easy way, count the squares and see if you can find a different way to divide. Make sure that you have the same number of squares. And then if it's asking you to do the shares and make fractions for those, think about how many shares that you made, not how many squares are in your share, but how many shares did you end up making in all.